All right, and we're live. So, this is day 366 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. It's a very strange thing. It's weird. I was watching this memory pop up on Facebook of like the first episode that I did, which was like a 23-minute audio copy on like Audacity software and like, this different setup on like Karloff's The Mummy. But I mean, Karloff's The Mummy is a solid flick. So
Yes.
it's kind of cool. It's been a year. I Googled the other day what the average life expectancy of a podcast is. And it says that the average life expectancy of a podcast is 174 days.
Wow.
That's how long most people last in terms of podcasting. It lasts.
Here's to Michael for doubling it. Woo!
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah. We've doubled the life expectancy, and they said that about 20% of all less than 20% of all podcasts make it into the second year. So, I mean, this has sort of taken off a little bit. I mean, at least in the sense, I think there's a better sense of what we enjoy doing on this show, I think, for the most part. And so as long as I think it stays with that, I think we're good. But I thought 2 days ago, yesterday, this idea to, sort of do something for the 1 year anniversary, which I'm holding in the middle of football season. So, I mean, I talked to a bunch of people. Well, the game's on. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Priorities.
Fine. Fine.
Yeah. It just hit halftime right now.
A bunch of fucks, So I'm here. I got that's me, the American Werewolf. Brom Bones is here. I believe he was the second guest we ever had on the show. Yep. I got John K. Alvarez, who I believe was the third guest I ever had on the show. And then it's been a minute, but I've got Knight from the Night Watch Zone, who probably was the fifth. So, or the fourth or fifth guest that we've had on the show. So, I think people are going to be dropping in and out. We'll just run a little podcast and just shoot the shit for a little bit. That's the entire purpose of this. Hold on. We've got some comments here. We've got Eric from Eric's in the house and is sorry couldn't make the stream, but this is an amazing accomplishment. It's such a pleasure to be a frequent guest, and I always look forward to being on. Congratulations. Man, I appreciate you. I remember you just started popping up in the comments, and then one day I think I just started shooting the shit with you on Twitter. I'm like, hey, do you want to come on the show? And I think the first one we did was The Terminator or Rob Zombie. We did like a double feature for like Rob Zombie's Halloween or something like that. And we did 1 and 2, and like Eric's been like a regular on the show since then. It's been a fun year, and I think that's the point of doing these things. Yeah. If you're doing it in such a way that you enjoy what it is that you are doing, then it's never really going to be a problem. Right. I was a part of a small something of another channel for a very brief period of time, and it just it wasn't agreeable. This I love doing. I look forward to it. And I thank all of you guys, who've popped in here, there, who are regulars. I appreciate all of you. I mean, we're just shooting the shit, talking movies all the time. So, what's not to like?
That's awesome stuff, man.
Mike, when I helped start a theater down here called Cape May Stage, or helped keep it going, the guy who ran it named Michael Laird, a Stockton alumni, he turned around and said, we have one motto. If this stops being fun, we stop. And that was it. If it starts becoming a job, we stop. And I'm like, you know what? And you kept that mentality, because when you said I was like the third one or the fourth one, I was like, I think you asked me, hey, I'm doing this podcast. You want to come on? And I'm like, sure. It was kind of where other people I know who have done podcasts on different subjects or whatever, I never asked to get on, but people have asked to get on, and they're going, they won't let me on. It's like this whole inquiry thing, and they have to go through, and be vetted. And And Mike was like, dude, I'm doing this. You want to jump on? I'm like, cool, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing right there. Yeah, it's just.
And for you, you notice the hair slicked back. I did it because I figured this was the closest to Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman I could be.
Well, this was the man who showed up in the Christmas episode as Kris Kringle here to mingle. So, and he had the big bushy beard and a Santa hat and like some song. He looked like John Belushi from the Blues Brothers. Kris Kringle here to mingle, and it was weird because some of my students at the time had found the show. And so they were like in the live stream and they came up to me. They're like, who the hell was Kris Kringle? They came up to me the next day. They're like, who the hell was Kris Kringle? I'm like, he's been a friend for like over 40 years.
And the thing was, they saw me the night you hit 100. I just looked different.
Yeah, that was because every time people change their name on this show. Well, John and Bill, every time they come on, they've got a different name.
I love seeing the name changes too. I'm like, okay, what are you guys gonna be this week?
When we did The Shining, he was when we did The Shining a couple of weeks ago, he was Ravila K. Naj, like a mirror reflection of his name. He's like, but you can call me Tony, and I'm like, hey, we've got Ravila K. Naj. And then I forget what movie we did one time, but he was Johnny Knives or something. Johnny Knives.
It was
from
Johnny
the neighborhood. From the neighborhood, he was like,
It was Johnny Knives,
Johnny Knives. Forget about it.
I think at one point I was Blackbeard's ghost.
Yeah.
But
but this is also what makes the show charming, man.
Yeah,
I mean, other people.
It makes it something.
It makes it something. I like that.
Yeah. it keeps it so different from other like podcasts or things that I was asked to come on. I'm like, at least you haven't walked up and said, "Dude, knock it off." Well, actually, yeah, you have during the show.
Because I forget what I think Bill was like hooding his head like a druid one time.
We're live.
Knock it off, I'm like, knock it off,
Hey, but you know what?
Knock it off.
But to give you credit though, Mike, you don't miss a beat. Like that is very difficult to do live, man.
Well, I've known these guys for like forever. Plus, I taught 7th grade for like forever. So you're gonna have a hell of a time trying to catch me off guard.
Right,
I'm like, you little bag of shit. You back there, you. Yeah, I see you back there. Knock it the fuck off. Jesus Christ!
You're a great hallway monitor, Mike.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And at night, you would remember, I mean, when this all started, it was very welcome to the show. And then, remember that old WWE storyline where Vince McMahon gets Stone Cold to be polite?
Yes.
And it works for like 2 weeks. Like he can't drink any beer and he's got to wave to everybody.
That's a good parallel.
Yeah, and he jumps up to the top rope, and the people are going nuts, and he jumps up, and he looks, and there's Vince. He's like, so he jumps down, and he waves at everybody. And I guess that lasted for about a month, and then, or maybe, I don't know, a couple weeks, couple episodes, 10 episodes or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then, what ended up, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's a good point because, when you first started doing it, you even said, you're just trying to get things in a rhythm and situate stuff, and you were trying some different stuff. And now, I mean, it's almost like you're just hanging out with friends in the living room, just shooting the shit, talking about movies. And it's really cool, man. Like I've always told you, because I have a long drive every week, 2 or 3 times a week. There's a lot of times, man, I'll just put your stuff on and it's just comforting. It's good, whether it be in podcast form or on YouTube. It's like, and that's a tough thing too, that it translates both ways, So like I've always said, man, it's always good conversation. Everyone that's on here, great discussions, and it's just fun. It's like laid back. And I think that's one of the best things about listening to your episodes is that it's just fun, laid back, and good conversation, man.
I appreciate it.
Well, it's funny. No, I was going to say, I'm glad you invited me on here. I do appreciate it. I mean, because I like to hear myself talk a lot. And when I listen to my voice, it sounds weird. When I listen to some of the podcasts, my voice doesn't sound like I think it sounds like. But for me, at first I wasn't sure if you were going to include me in this because it's horror movies, and that's not my go-to genre, you know. And so I thought it was interesting that you brought me on as somebody who's kind of I'm only kind of in the periphery of horror, and I've seen movies here and there and things like that, but I don't really consider myself like an authority, on the subject. If we were doing westerns, I'll be all in, or something like that. But yeah, I mean, so for me, it's cool to talk about because I've seen some movies, but it's also interesting to get into some movies that I never saw before. I mean, I think what was the first one I was on? I think it was
Ravenous.
Ravenous, right? That was like the
Ravenous,
fifth episode,
1999. Yeah, we did Ravenous with Guy Pearce.
And it was a cool movie. I mean, so
fucked up movie.
It was different, and yeah, I mean, and I'm willing to open myself to that kind of stuff and enjoy it for what it is.
For the the like three people that that are paying attention to the show. I mean, so you understand, for clarification's sake, Ryan and I have been friends for about 15 years. And so what would happen is we would go out when I got back to the States, because I was overseas for about 10 years. And when I'd come back during the winter and like winter break, and I would come back for the summer, Ryan and I would hit the bar. So we would always go to, we would go to the same bar. We would order the same plate of wings every time and just keep like drinking beer. And so what would happen is, he's an English teacher. I'm from the same background. I was a lit major. And so we would just sit there getting drunk, talking movies and books. And so I knew that you were not a horror fan, because I would talk horror, and that's kind of where you were like, okay, well, I haven't seen that, but I knew you could talk movies.
Well, yeah.
So it was simply an issue as to whether you'd be willing to sit down and, screen a movie, to then later come back and, just shoot the shit, which is something I knew you could do. I think we were in the bar one time, and the bartender came over to us. I don't know if you remember this. And he was like, that guy over there wants to buy you two a beer. And we look up, and it's this guy, and he goes, I've been listening to you two fucking talk. He's like, you can really fucking talk some movies. He's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I
just have a fucking beer. He's like, I've been sitting there watching you talk nonstop for like 20 fucking minutes. And it would it would be like another Sam Adams and, just a plate of wings. Give me another Sam Adams. And then like, Ryan is usually Ryan's driving. So like I'd get like some Jameson, and then the Jameson would start, after that. And, we're just, so, that instantly translated into, hey, do you want to be on the fucking movie and on the podcast and just talk some movies?
I totally forgot about that till you brought it up. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
With few exceptions, I think maybe with the exception of Bill, nobody and Eric now. With the exception of Bill and Eric, nobody we have 7 rotating people. Doug's on every once in a while, but he does a labor job, and right now he's just swamped with work. So I talk to him all the time, but he's like, I can't, he's like, I'm making a ton of money right now. I can't say no to that, got a family, this sort of thing, no problem. But with few, most of the people that are regulars on here aren't per se horror fans. John doesn't sit around and watch Shudder all the time. I know Ryan doesn't really either. Bill, Jocelyn, she only flies in when it's quirky, So, she's here for that. This movie isn't quirky, and I'm not gonna, so, there's Jocelyn over there. But Bill, Bill and I have known each other since '87. So we've been, talking movies and, he's a horror fan. But a lot of people aren't, but they can discuss film. So if you can just discuss film, then, hey, why not? Come on board. And, you got to meet a couple people in the meanwhile. Nate, you helped me finally transfer over to live streaming.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
And
that first episode. There was a fucking shit show.
yes, I remember that.
I couldn't get I didn't know that the upload speed had to be a certain thing, and then I couldn't figure out how to use that first software, and I'm like, motherfucker, and then I came back the next day, and we had StreamYard by then.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. We got some comments here. Eric says, with a revolving group of guests, Mike's never gets away from the 7th graders. Yeah, so you figure
that's true.
Yeah, you figure you're just like hosting a bunch of depraved children. So I'm right in there too with everybody else. So it's
I'm
like
a 7th grader. Repeat it.
Yeah, it's like fine fucking company, man. So yeah, it all works out. It's all good. I always said this channel is fun water cooler talk. You're just shooting the shit with your buddies about movies. Yeah, those make the best shows. We need to get Ryan on with us, so next time we do an action movie. Yeah, okay.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
well, it didn't. Now, what happened with Event Horizon? You ended up not doing it?
No, we had a tech snafu that day. It was me and John was pretty shredded. I mean, I don't want to speak for John.
John looked like hell.
Yeah, John was tired, and it was 8 o'clock, but sometimes 8 o'clock. Yeah, sometimes 8 o'clock might as well be midnight.
Yeah,
and you're just like, okay, let's kick the can on this. We'll come back to Event Horizon.
I would, that's an example of, it's kind of an action movie. I would like to do that, but I have to see it again first. I haven't seen it in like 20 years, so I'd have to
it's a great movie.
Check it out. I remember certain parts of it, but I'd have to see it again.
Hold on, Patrick's here. Go ahead.
Oh,
Patrick's here. He's here for the 824 chat. Oh God, we're not going that highbrow. Yo, man, that would be the fucking destination, man. Like working for 824. Fuck.
One of the other things, Mike, that I really do think works great with this podcast is there's no competition. There's a lot of times when I've gone on these things or other people, it's more of like can you top this? Like if somebody says something they want to, instead of actually having a conversation.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and this is
it's like a debate.
It's so relaxing.
Yeah,
right.
That when you said shoot the shit, I'm like, that's exactly it. I'm waiting for us to start breaking out chicken wings and beer when we're doing the show.
We might as
be
well.
honest, it's just because it's that relaxed, and that's what I think what makes it work. Besides, we do love what we're talking about.
I think that it's chill, but at the same time, I think that the points we make are valid. So it's not blather. I think one of the things I've enjoyed getting away from that I've noticed, because I look back sometimes at the old episodes just to I did that. I don't do it very often, but I did that a couple of months ago. I started looking I went back at about 60 episodes. I went into early on when we were getting after it a little bit, and I was like, wow, this is a fucking meandering this is we would have these tangential things that just went nowhere. Now this podcast is not above going on tangents. Eric and I started talking about Dr. D. David Schultz and slapping people in the face, and when he slapped John Stossel the other day. But we bring it back around. And that tangential thing has a purpose. And I remember a long time ago, I remember 20 years ago or so, I saw Henry Rollins. For those of you who know who Henry Rollins is, the Rollins Band and lead singer of Black Flag. And I went to go see him at one of his spoken word shows, which really is like a 3-hour stand-up comedy, like tour de force. He's an amazing speaker and a master storyteller. And he did this thing one time where he just started talking about one thing, and then he just sort of went off on this tangent, and the tangent must have lasted like an hour almost. And you forgot about the original thing that he was talking about because it's just kind of stream of consciousness talking. But then I can't remember how he did it because it's been so long. But he just brought you back in an instant at the end to this one thing that he said, and you realized that he had known where he was going all that time.
Right.
And when he did it, the whole audience just erupted because you had forgotten how the conversation had started. It had gone off on such a tangent, but he just brought it back with this one thing. And you realize he had been really at the wheel and, cognizant of what was going on the entire time. And I was like, wow, that's the destination when it comes to talking.
That's what makes him a master.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those
Yeah.
types of conversations, they're just fun because, like you
Yeah.
said, you're going somewhere you don't really expect. And if it's someone that you're tuned into, it's a fun ride,
Mhm.
and just like, doing these types of discussions, it's unscripted. So it,
Mhm.
it truly is just about the passion and being able to, like you guys were saying, like John was saying, to have the conversation, not competing or debating. And it's fun stuff, man. When we did the Carpenter movies, man,
Mm.
I watched those episodes a couple of times because as a huge Carpenter fan, and I love those movies so much, but the conversation was so good and it stretched out so far. I mean, and those are some fun episodes, man. Those are like some of the best types of discussions, for a podcast or a YouTube show, because you don't know what you're gonna get. And you find a lot of times you get a lot of good stuff, a lot of treasures along the way. It's just, I love it.
When we did those 3 movies, we had people who were lifelong, everybody that was in those chats, and sort of it decreased. I think by the time we got to the last one, it was just you and I now. But what had happened was you had people in there that were lifelong fans of those movies.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
so and like one of the few things that Ryan and I could talk about if it came to horror in the bar was Carpenter. So we were all coming from a position where it was just like, okay, yeah, we've been waiting a long time to have these conversations about these movies, these thoughts. And then, because we're not prearranging anything, this is what we're going to talk about, this is what we're going to talk about, you bring up a point that other people haven't thought about, and so that starts a whole new subthread. That kind of thing. And so, it just becomes enjoyable, and you've got 4 people or 3 people or even 2 people that just, love what they're talking about in that particular moment. And there's no work involved at all.
And what I like too is that sometimes we kind of step outside the norm, and we looked at like Nosferatu. We've checked out silent films. We got to get back to Phantom of the Opera, by the way. And we've done, and I I introduced you to M and Night of the Hunter. Those kind of weird, where and you were willing to like take a look at them, and you're not like,
that was down the rabbit hole, but they were good. They were good.
Like,
they were good.
And it's cool because you're looking at all kinds of different facets of horror. You're looking at thrillers, you're looking at psychological stuff, you're looking at serial killers. We're not just here. I don't think have you ever done, and this is to your credit, I don't think you've ever done a Freddy or Jason movie on here.
We started
something shitty with the Jason movie,
with the Jason thing, but I didn't want to do that because I know that there are a lot of fans out there of the schlock. I am not a fan.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good.
But what ended up happening was when it came to the something shitty subthread, which we haven't done in a while, and I want to get back to it. I wanted to get to. Well, I wanted to get to movies that I considered to be overrated. There are a lot of movies that are just deliberately bad. Like Eric was watching something the other day, and I remember this from my old college days called Night of the Demons. And I'm like, oh Lord, where did you dredge that up? Oh my God. And I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to reply to that. I'm not going to do it. But what I considered for the something shitty was were overrated movies because that's why I didn't go into like the Jason Goes to Hell kind of thing. Although that was the first one that I did, but I was like, well, wait a minute, I'll be here all day if I start picking through that kind of stuff. Hold on a second. The comments are starting to pile up. It says get Ryan to join us for RoboCop or Total Recall. Yeah, come in on the Beethoven threads. We're still waiting for Marty.
Total Recall. Yeah,
we're still waiting for Marty to get back to us.
Yeah, I'm in for Total Recall.
Can we talk about Starship Troopers 2 Hero of the Federation? I'm not sure.
There was a sequel.
Not sure.
There you go.
I don't want to promise. I'm getting a vibe, though, that's saying perhaps. Okay, I've been to one of Henry's spoken word shows. I've been to it. And Patrick says he's been to 4. I've been to 4. The problem with going to any of his shows is that Every person that I've gone with, I've never spoken to again for one reason. Either I just fell out of touch or whatever. One person actually has passed. So like, I'm afraid to ask anybody else when he comes around. I'm like, hey, do you know? Okay, maybe I don't want to do this.
It's like
or maybe there are a couple people I could target. Hey, let's go to this. That kind of I'm just joking. I'm only joking. IFC midnight shows. IFC midnight fucking rules, man.
Yeah, man.
That's where we got night. You and I did a dark song.
Oh man, yeah.
IFC midnight. The autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yes.
There's a lot of good shit out there from IFC Midnight. There are a couple of things that don't always hold up, but by and large, that's a powerful threat. Phantom of the Paradise. I don't know what that is.
Oh, that's an oldie.
Okay, Phantom of the Paradise. I don't know. Have you heard of the script? Really?
Of course.
Patrick.
Actually, the new one just came out.
I'm trying to forget it. I'm trying to fucking forget.
I saw the first one. I couldn't stand it.
Here's another thing. Because I'm sort of on again, off again with Wes Craven. But you know, because like I really love those Wes Craven Presents when he did the Dracula 2000 and he executive produced those that trilogy.
Yeah.
Some of the like with Gerard Butler as fucking Dracula and like Christopher Plummer was Van Helsing, and then you got to the third movie and you started to introduce Jason Scott Lee, who I'm always a fan of, and then you got to the third movie and Rutger Hauer as Dracula. You're like, fuck, these are like really intense movies. But then there are some things I'm not necessarily a fan of. The Nightmare on Elm Street thing, you can't take away the originality of that first movie.
Oh yeah, no,
absolutely.
And it's like Steve was saying when Steve was on here and we were talking about The Shining. He's like, when you make a horror movie, you know, if you're writing, you have to trap your characters,
Right?
And I mean, that's a wholly original trap. And that was one of the titles he mentioned. He's like, you got to sleep, right? So, you know, or like Alien, you know, you gotta get on the you're trapped on the ship, and that was what I really liked about Event Horizon. I mean, it's a trap inside of a trap inside of a trap.
Inside of a trap.
You're in space. You're on a ship. The ship breaks down.
The one thing that
the Event Horizon, that you know, ship is possessed, and you're just like, holy shit, this is like layers upon layers of being fucked, man.
That one scene in Event Horizon. And it's burned into my brain where they watch that video of what happened to the previous crew.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And the guy's got his eyes. It's like
that still creeps me out.
Yeah, it's horrific stuff, man.
Last week when I rewatched it to get myself up to date for the show that never was, and I saw that, and it was like in the afternoon, lights were on, and I saw it, and I still got creeped out. Because it was that well done.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, Mike,
that's a great.
That's a hardcore movie.
Going back to Freddy for a minute. Going back to Freddy for a minute. Did I ever tell you the story that I got hit on by Heather Langenkamp?
I believe this may have come up a time or two. Okay.
It was
Ryan usually has a few beers before he starts to get into this sort of. Okay, go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
It was at the AC Horror Con a few years back. I had no idea who she was.
Is Michelle listening to this? She's not in the stream.
I told her about it. She laughed. No, because my brother-in-law, you know, him and a friend of his who's really into horror, they wanted to go. So I went along. I met Tom Savini. I knew who he was, you know. And so they go up to her table. And I'm like, I don't know who this woman is because I hadn't seen Nightmare on Elm Street at that point. And I'm standing there and I go up to her. She's like, oh, hi. She's like, oh, that's a real nice track jacket you have on. I'm like, thanks, 50-year-old lady in mom jeans. I don't know who you are, but, you know, she's very nice and cordial. But I'm just like, okay, thanks. I had to buy like a picture just so she could autograph it so it didn't seem awkward. I'm like, okay, thanks a lot.
She might have been making fun of you, Ryan, in your tracksuit there.
No, it's a track jacket. But it was funny. I was just like, okay, that's the first time a celebrity actually like really personally interacted. Okay, thanks. You know,
those guys
very
are
nice woman.
A lot of them are so nice at those conventions.
Yeah, they are.
Man. It really is awesome. I mean, to think that they're that cool with the fans.
I looked up the guest list for Monster Mania Con in March. It's pretty much
Same.
no, it's the cast of Dexter.
Yeah, Michael C.
Oh yeah, I
Hall.
saw that. Michael C. Hall's he's like one of the big draws. Yeah.
The two guys from Weird Science, Anthony Michael Hall and the other guy, Ernie Hudson.
Oh really? I like Ernie Hudson.
Yeah, Ernie Hudson's going to be there.
Substitute.
I would go to see Ernie Hudson.
Yeah.
But it's a small list right now.
Yeah.
They haven't there's not a lot of people there right now. It's mostly like Dexter, Weird Science, and Ernie Hudson. So
yeah, with Omicron right now, and everything's you don't know which
Such a
states are
bummer.
headed for shutdown, and you
Yeah.
can see why people would be hesitant to commit right now.
Yeah.
Well, I got lucky with that show in August.
Yeah.
But I mean, even then, I mean, I think that there were a couple of other names that were going to be there, and it didn't pan out. I wanted to see Dorf that day, but that was a 5-hour wait.
Yeah, that's right.
It was 5 hours to see. That would have been the whole day.
Yeah.
That would have been the whole day, and I couldn't. And then there was no guarantee because at the 5-hour mark, he had some other commitment, where he was on a panel or something like that. So you may not have even gotten in to see him, but what the hell.
Oh, and Stephen Dorff is going to be there too.
Oh,
the bad guy from Blade.
Oh, really?
Blade. Yep.
Yeah. Deacon Frost, man.
Yeah.
I thought I heard that Jeffrey Combs was going to be there.
Really?
From
Let me
the
see. I'm
Animator.
looking right now.
And also Barbara Crampton. I thought I saw that.
Let me
But
see.
I
I
could
see
be wrong.
James
Who are these
Remar. I see James Remar. I see C.S. Lee. David Zayas. These are all Dexter guys. James Jude Courtney.
Yeah, from Halloween.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jeffrey Combs, the Reanimator. Yeah, he's there. Yeah.
There you go.
But is Barbara there too?
Yeah, Barbara Crampton's here. Yep. And Roger Jackson, who's the voice of Ghostface. Yeah. These other Thora Birch is going to be there.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Thora Birch, jeez.
Yeah, and the chick from Ash versus the Evil Dead, Dana DiLorenzo. Huh.
That's cool.
That's a pretty good lineup.
That's not bad.
That's a good lineup.
Yeah.
They added some since the last time I was on here. I just looked the other day.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I really want to go to it, but I don't know.
Well, they do.
You're
they
further
do
up north than us, aren't you?
Yeah, but
Connecticut or Maine or something?
Yeah, but it would be worth it. It'd be so worth it.
You could stay at the hotel. I mean, it's a nice hotel. I saw who else? Somebody else is on here. Derek.
See, nobody on that list really jumps out at me. I wouldn't mind seeing Ernie Hudson, but I wouldn't go all the way to Cherry Hill just to see Ernie Hudson. Yeah,
Ernie Hudson.
I would see Ernie Hudson and Thora Birch, and the guy's name just went out of my head from Blade.
Deacon
Okay.
Frost.
Stephen Dorff.
Stephen Dorff.
Yeah,
he was great on season 3 of True Detective.
Okay.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
He's such an underrated actor because
Yeah.
But every time I've seen him hit the screen, he hits it running.
Yeah.
Did you just say
Ghost
a
of Mars
Carpenter
and
misstep was
Halloween
Halloween?
Yeah,
Halloween
he did.
78.
Really?
That is
Them
not a
fighting
misstep.
words.
It is.
No.
He
I mean,
knows that.
I'm
as
kidding.
many movies as this show takes a swipe at. I mean, I'm the last person who's going to get sensitive about shit. But I've never heard that before. I'm like, okay,
Right?
that's a new one.
I've never seen Ghost of Mars. I can't.
I like Ghost
did.
of Mars with Ice
I
Cube.
did see Ghost of Mars.
Yeah, we did the top 10 favorite horror movies, and Bill's number 5 was Halloween, and he had said something that I had never considered, and I think we brought this in an intro to another show, that Myers was actually a demon, in the sense that he was absolute evil. And I started to think about it, and I'm like, well, shit, maybe that's why you can't put him down. I'm not talking now for me personally. I'm not talking about 20 movies later. I'm just talking about in the first movie, and maybe the second movie. Okay, the second movie, because I can deal with it. But I actually rewatched for the first time in at least 10 or 15 years the original, a couple of days ago, bearing this in mind. And I was
Mhm.
like, fuck, that's really not, because I mean, he takes a needle in the neck. He
Yep.
takes a hanger in the eye. He gets gut
6
stabbed.
shots.
He gets
6
6 in the
shots.
fucking chest, and he just
Mhm.
keeps on moving. I'm like, fuck, maybe Bill was really onto something, as opposed
Well,
to
he-
like what Zombie
Right.
did, where he humanized him. He just turned him
Right.
into like this monster who had like a
Who
really
was 8 feet
horrific
tall.
life. Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
also due to the clause, the writing clause that whoever writes these movies is not allowed to kill Michael Myers. That
Yeah.
was
Right.
the Akkads who did that.
Yep.
They put in they put every
Mustafa.
time a Halloween movie comes out, the writers cannot kill Michael
Michael
Myers.
Myers.
Yep. Yep.
Even when they put it in the movie, Jason must die.
if there's
Well,
a
you know, there's-
square centimeter of flesh,
Oh, I'm
they've
sorry, that was-
just
Yeah.
oh Jesus. Okay.
Predator.
Well, there's some legal stuff going on with Jason right now.
Oh,
they
yeah,
can't
man.
do any Friday the 13th movies.
Well,
Yeah.
the lawsuit just got settled because it was Victor Miller
Oh,
who
okay.
wrote the original Friday the
Mhm.
13th and Sean Cunningham who
Oh,
directed
yeah.
it, and he's the producer and basically
Mhm.
the overall owner. And Victor Miller won. So supposedly the lawsuit is over, but that doesn't mean
Right.
that they're going to be able to move forward, because they're probably going to still have to figure out the money, who gets
Mhm.
what. And Victor
Yeah.
Miller, he has the rights to the name Friday the 13th, Camp Crystal Lake, Pamela Voorhees. But Sean
Yeah.
Cunningham, he has the rights to everything that happened after that, with the hockey mask and all that. type of
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
So it's all weird. It's some
Because in
weird
the
Yeah,
first
that's-
one, Jason wasn't there to the very end. too.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hmm.
to
Yep.
spin it back to what you were talking about earlier, Michael, with like the Scream series and things like that. I remember, or actually, no, the Halloween series.
Mm.
I remember when the movie first came out. That was back when they were writing movies about, writing books about the movies that were out.
Novelizations.
Like,
Yeah. I love
and
reading
I read
those.
the Halloween
Yeah.
compilation before I saw the movie.
Okay.
And they were talking about the first chapter, or the forward section was talking about how they were bringing a demon into it was a natives way back in time.
Oh, wow.
And they were talking about bringing this demon to them to protect the village, to be their guardian. And it became like a Jason character, or not Jason, Michael Myers character.
Weren't you the guys
He
who were
became-
saying that Carpenter had? I'm sorry to mean it, but the Carpenter had different ideas. Like it was going to be a whole series of movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, after the
That's
first,
why the
after
third one was the one about
season
the
of the
witches.
witch. Yeah, that was going to be
do
the
it
idea.
like Tales from the Crypt type deal. Each
Mm-hmm.
Halloween movie would have a different theme, a different getup, and a different thing of taking
Oh,
on
okay.
horror type
Hmm.
deal.
Yep.
So it
But the
wasn't
problem
always
was
going to
the
be
first
about
one,
Michael
because it
Myers?
was such a cult
No.
classic. They said, "Well, let's go
Yeah.
back for the second one."
When
Ah.
Carpenter made the original, his idea was just to have one movie.
Yeah.
And Michael wasn't even like, he obviously he was the antagonist, but I mean he was just called the Shape. He wasn't even really
Right,
meant
that's
to come
right.
to the
Yeah.
fore. He wasn't
Yeah.
meant to come to the forefront of things. And then the contracts and the Akkads and the money and this and that, and they said we got to do a sequel. And
Mhm.
Carpenter didn't want to direct a sequel, but he was contracted to help write it, and he helped to produce it.
Mhm.
And then when 3 came out, he was like, "Look,
I'm
we're
done.
not. We're done.
Yeah.
Let's make this an anthology and talk about these elements of the Halloween season." And that's what they tried with Season of the Witch, but nobody went to
Nobody
go
got
see it, and nobody got it, which is too bad looking back on it now. But anyways, yeah,
Wait,
Michael Myers was never meant to be what he became.
Yeah.
This information probably would have been detrimental to the franchise 40 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
If you had explained it, like by the time you got to the second, look, this is not what we want to do. Here's what we want to do. Then people would be like, okay, no.
Mhm.
And by then they were already invested by the second movie in the sole character,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
Yep.
if you had given them, no wonder nobody.
Which is
got
not, the irony of it is the way like the movies they wanted it to turn out is what made American Horror Story such a hit.
Yeah.
They took
Yeah.
one season to tell the whole story, and everybody's dying, and they said season 2 is coming back. I'm like, how? They're all dead,
Mhm.
and it was just a whole different set of stories, a whole
Yeah.
different, and that to me is great to keep it interested. That's why the early days of Tales from the Crypt and the new Tales from the Crypt that are on now, nothing's connected. They just keep telling like original stories and boom, like the Twilight Zone
or Outer Limits or stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, a night gallery.
Yes.
Is anybody
in a night gallery this year again?
Yeah.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I got? I got it on DVD. Speaking of Friday the 13th, I bought the entire series, the television series.
Yes.
Oh, I remember that.
With Roby.
Yes.
With Roby.
Roby.
And I've just been dying to watch it. I just haven't gotten around to just putting it in and like, because I know that probably. One, I'm afraid.
I forgot there was a series. Yeah.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid it won't hold up.
Right.
I'm afraid. This sucks, and I'm like, what the fuck, Especially like I've been doing this a year now, so like I've gotten, like this discerning sort of eye going, and like I totally get, and we've talked about this before.
Oh, I got it right here, man.
People go through all these reboots and sequels because they want to recapture that old. That's exactly the one that I have. Yep,
that's it.
Yep.
Remember
I remember
when I was little watching a lot of those weird anthologies, like what was that one, Tales from the Dark Side?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I
used to love that.
That other one, Amazing Stories.
Yes.
I didn't watch that one so much.
There was one called Ray Bradbury Theater, and Ray Bradbury would walk into his room and start typing on a typewriter.
Yeah.
It was,
and there was that there was that Freddy series too. It was like Freddy's Nightmares. Yeah,
that I didn't watch. I didn't watch
that. That one wasn't as good. I thought the Friday the 13th series was actually really good. And
the only connection to the movie was that they found the hockey mask, I think, in the first episode.
Yeah, and the title. And that was it.
Yeah, and the title, that was it.
Yeah.
Everything else was kind of like the monster of the week.
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah, it's funny though. They had to find a new artifact.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a new possessed or haunted artifact.
Good, man.
It's funny because with that Tales from the Dark Side, it's funny. I watched that like on a school night, and my parents would let us watch it, and there was some scary stuff on there.
Yeah, man. Even the way it started with that music and that voice,
I remember. I remember this one episode. I think it was that show, or it was Amazing Stories. There's one with like this witch. And she just looks so freaky. I mean,
why you don't watch horror movies now? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No. I was just like, it was good. It was a good makeup job, I remember, but it was just like, yeah, man, that Tales from the Dark Side was hardcore. Some of that stuff. Yeah.
It was so creative.
Yeah.
There was that other show too, Masters of Horror.
Yes.
Did anybody see that? Did you see the one that was directed by John Carpenter? And it was
I remember you talking about it.
It was with Ron Perlman.
Yes.
And Ron Perlman, who was just scary in that episode. His daughter's in an abortion clinic. And you get the impression that I can't remember if he just played somebody who was off balance, some unbalanced person, but they all knew who he was. And that, him coming to the gate of the abortion clinic was going to be a problem, it turned out that he really wasn't the threat. I mean, it was,
Well,
there you go.
Didn't he do that one too? It was called like Body Bags.
Yes. John Carpenter. Yep.
Yeah. Was that part of that series?
No, that was different.
Yeah.
No,
that was on AMC.
Oh,
okay. It was. I love stuff like that.
Started off on Showtime.
Okay.
They don't make that.
I used to love those shows.
Yeah.
Well, there's the new we're 2 seasons in and I haven't seen any of it. The new Creep Show.
Yes.
Oh, there's a new
Steve's a writer for Creep Show. And I'm embarrassed to say I've had him on twice and I haven't seen his show yet. I'm like, fuck, I hope he doesn't ask me. What you think of him? Fuck, like he's gonna ask me,
You were brilliant. You were
I love the way you fucking added that in there. Motherfucker, you're the best.
It's pretty good, man. I dig it. I mean, stuff like that is just so much fun because when you go into it, you don't know what to expect, And if it's a good episode, if it's done halfway decent, I mean, it's just a fun ride. All those shows.
There was a show when I was a kid in the 70s. Was on Friday nights on NBC, and it was called Circle of Fear.
Oh, I don't
and it was
that
an
one.
hour-long.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Individual, and I remember seeing one episode, and God, I was like about 11, 10 maybe. And I had a nightmare from it and woke up screaming. Because I got up and I opened my eyes half awake and I saw the villain, whatever it was, like in the corner of the room, and started screaming and woke my parents up. And they sat down to me in the morning and said, "Are you all right?" "Yeah." And then my mother went, "You're never watching that show again."
Nice.
You woke
So,
my
Mike,
ass up
I
at
saw
3 in the morning.
something. I saw they're doing like a remake, another remake of Salem's Lot.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not betting my grandmother on it, but
What's
there's always
show that's over there about the minister who found the town that became Salem's Lot, like in the 1800s?
Chapelwaite.
Oh yeah, with Adrian Brody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a
Anybody
movie?
seen that?
It's a
It's
show.
an Amazon
Oh, a
series.
show.
No,
I haven't
Oh,
seen
okay.
it. I saw the
No.
trailer, but
No.
Because
I
I did
like
know
Adrian
2 people
Brody.
who saw it and said, "You know what? It's kind of good." They were surprised because they were not ready to like it.
it's based on Jerusalem's Lot from Night Shift. It's based on that. Hold on, we got some comments here. Patrick's still cracking up about a demon who got hurt by a clothes hanger. Okay,
Michael
fine.
Myers. Come on, Patrick.
Then we got Eric here. He loves some Halloween 3. Okay, so Patrick's on board with that. Outer Limits of the 1990s. Yeah, and they redid the Twilight Zone. One of the best Twilight Zone episodes is the one where the guy, where if you, a small town has discovered what the literal meaning of life is, but if it's not something you're supposed to hear, and if you hear it, you'll go insane because it's more than you can. And there's one guy left in the town. And at the end, the one woman that it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He thinks the one girl is safe, and she walks up and whispers it in his ear, and that's how the episode ends.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Hold on.
I remember on
Amazing Stories. Ray Bradbury. Alfred Hitchcock presents. Yeah. Monsters. Hey, Dan is here. What's up, Dan? Thanks for stopping in. Yeah. 1 year, man. We might as well talk about something. Dead Time Stories are god awful. Okay, I'll take your word for it because I'm not going to watch.
Never heard of that.
Fear Itself series. I don't know that one.
I don't know that one either.
Good episodes of Creepshow, the one with Kevin Dillon. I think that's broadcasting on Amazon these days. It's on Prime.
It's on Shudder as well.
It's actually
Is it really?
on
Okay.
too.
You know what else is a really good show? That new show, Fear.
I haven't seen it.
With Michael, who's the guy who played Luke Cage?
Michael.
Mike
I know what
Coulter.
you're talking about.
Mike
Coulter.
Yeah, Mike Coulter. That
It
is a
used to be on CBS,
phenomenal.
and they moved it to Paramount.
Yeah. They turned it into a
I caught a
streaming
couple
show.
of those shows, and some of them actually made me get like hair on the back of my neck standing up.
The writing
That one was on
writing is
CBS.
spectacular.
Yeah.
And I was happy to see that Mike Coulter was working again because I still hold a grudge against Disney for canceling all those fantastic Netflix series to give us some watered down shit. Just chaps my ass.
He was great as Luke Cage too.
Yeah,
he literally came off of the comic book. I was like,
That
this
was
is
a
the
cool
Luke
show.
Cage.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. And so when I saw that he was in another series, I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, wait a minute. He's in a horror series? Okay. And then I watched it and I'm like, holy shit. They had the whole first season on Netflix. And it was good and scary without being gory. And I was like, wow, to really pull that off, that just took some outstanding writing and direction. I mean, just really, really great stuff.
And it was they also tied in the fact it could be a mystery too, because they were also trying to solve it. That's the thing that I don't want to say the Scooby-Doo aspect of it, but they were, is this real or is it not? And that's the thing that I think was a nice hook that pulled people in, because like Supernatural, you knew they were fighting something like the Monster of the Week TV show.
I never
and
saw
I liked
Supernatural.
it, but oh my God, the 4th and 5th season I will watch anytime it comes on again. The other ones I could take, but when they were bringing in the fact of working in the apocalypse, and it took 2 seasons to tell the story. They had the coolest person who ever played Death in my life, because they had the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and he was just an old man riding around in a white Mustang. And one guy, and when the world's coming to the end, there's like a hurricane in Chicago, and a guy walks into it and he says, "Watch yourself, pal." And Death, you didn't even see his full face. He just looked over his shoulder and went like brush, and the guy dropped dead in the street.
Oh,
I mean, and they're going, "Oh, Death!" Oh, they were playing that. A female was singing. It was one of the greatest scenes. I was like, "God damn, that was good." And Death was snarky and had a smart ass sense of humor.
Nice.
In that it made me laugh. And Max Headroom, the actor who played Max Headroom, played Pestilence.
Oh wow!
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Walk to Cinemas here. They said congrats on the 1 year. Thank you guys. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. We've got we got another show that they're lined up for, so that's going to be good. Let's see. Got to go. This was fun. Yeah. Thanks, Eric, man. I appreciate it. And
Be well,
I guess
Eric.
we'll see you this week or something, or next week, or this week. Okay, we'll see you later on this week.
Hey, Mike,
Feel better, man. Feel better.
Can I ask
you
you
a
a
man.
question?
Who are you talking
Where
to?
do you see the future, Mike? Where do you see the future of your podcast? Where do you see the future of your podcast going?
Well,
Sorry,
I
I
mean,
was bringing it back to the show.
Yeah, no. Right now, I mean, I just see us continuing to do what we're doing. I mean, if it's just an issue of getting, the catch. I think the catch of what we do is that we only cover a particular type of film. So it isn't always, the largest audience that's going to grab onto that.
Yeah,
right.
Not to mention the fact that, I've, admittedly made some pointed comments about other types of movies. So, maybe people don't want to check it out that way. But I think given enough time, I have no huge plans. I mean, I want the podcast to grow, not necessarily one particular format of the podcast, whether it be video or audio or something like that.
Yeah.
So for right now, to just keep on doing what we're doing, I think, if you're we're consistently prepared, and we just keep going at it, that opportunity will present itself. And even if it doesn't, then we still love what we're doing. So, what's the big deal? If it just ends up being us, talking about movies, that's no loss to me. I sat there and, like I said, I think I said I was involved with another channel for about a month, and I didn't enjoy it. And then just in 1 month, I was pretty shot out. I was just like, this isn't what I want to do. And so to continue to do this under these conditions, hey, I can run with the ball all day.
Have you looked into the merch stuff? Those links I sent you?
Yeah, I've got to do some comparison shopping because I'm looking at other things. We're talking about maybe a T-shirt or something like that. Because I've had people who've approached me like, you should, do a T-shirt, and so some logos or text logos or things like that. And it would be kind of cool. I don't think that I'll be retiring to Tahiti off T-shirt profits, but it would just be fucking. It would just be fucking cool because you can.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you can, then why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If you can, then why wouldn't you? I'm not looking to break into the T-shirt business, but I mean, we're doing this, and so why wouldn't you? Make a couple of cool shirts and, pass them around, and maybe a couple of people will buy them. And so, I mean, why would, if you can, and it's not hurting anybody, then, what's the problem?
Right. Yeah. That's true. And if you got people, one person, when I first started doing this stuff, said to me that really made so much sense is when you talk about people enjoying what you're talking about, imagine if you even have, 10 people, listening to what you're talking about or watching it or whatever. Just imagine yourself in a room doing this conversation and having 10 people surrounding you or around you listening to the conversation. It really puts it into perspective, as far as even just with a few people listening. And as time goes on, like you said, and you've been growing and stuff, I mean, it's really cool stuff, man. And as long as you have fun, That's like the driving force is having fun. I mean, we've had a whole bunch of laughs, and we didn't know where this conversation was going to go. And it's great. The only difference is that we're live and other people can watch us if they want to. That's the only difference, you know?
Yeah. You know, I had people come up to me and they're like, well, where do you do your editing? I'm like, what editing, man?
Right?
Yeah.
Like why would I? Why would
here?
I'm like, what editing? And we're not editing shit, you know. I'm like, you know, I'm like, why would? I don't want to polish anything, you know. This is it. You know, it's here for whoever would like to listen. It's here for whoever would like to download. There's no charge for it. If you want to listen to us on iTunes or Spotify or, you know, Amazon, you know, or you want to watch us on YouTube, it's free. So, yeah, I mean, what
the motto is you either love the American Werewolf in New Jersey or you're wrong.
Hold on a second. Walter said it's going to be Gerald's game. So we're going to finally get into some Mike Flanagan.
Wow.
Mike Flanagan. That's some serious
Gerald's
shit, man.
game.
It was.
I love that.
That is exactly what Steve was talking about when he's talked about being trapped. Do you know that story, Ryan?
I've heard of it. It's
a guy and his wife decide to have a weekend getaway and have a little kink in this little cabin that they've rented. So he handcuffs her to the bed. And as they're proceeding to get it on, I'm not going to get into too much, he has a heart attack and dies. While she's handcuffed to the fucking bed. And it's about her trying not to die. You know, and trying to get free. I mean, it's the most simple premise in the world. Stephen King, you know, he created just this, and that there might be somebody else in the woods. You know, that's a threat. Hold on a second. Patrick says Matt Freezer. Oh, Matt Frewer, aka Moloch. I know Matt.
That's from Watchmen.
Watchmen, yeah, he was Moloch.
Oh, okay. Tahiti is a magical place. Oh, yes, it is. Phil Coulson. That's it.
Phil Coulson.
If I'm going to go I'm not going to say where I'm going to go because then someone might actually show up. Hey, what do you do? Well, you mentioned it 25 years ago on your podcast. You know, that's not right.
And it would be the worst person in the world.
Probably. Because, that's the only type of person that would follow you all the way to Tahiti. You know, of course. You know, it's not going to be like, you know, your unlimited selection of Instagram models or something. No, it's not going to be that. It never. No. So,
actually, I saw there's a weird show that's on a Delaware station that comes on like cable, and it's called Spenguli. And it reminds me of a very there's a very old show when I was growing up at a Channel 17 back when they had UHF channels called Dr. Shock's Creature Features.
Oh, yeah, I remember Dr. Shock. Yeah, of course. That was local.
Reminds me, but like last night they showed, and I never saw it before, the Earth versus the Flying Saucers.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm going, oh my God, I've never seen, and I sat and watched it, and I'm going,
now you know why I haven't seen it.
Campy. It was so campy. I actually smiled through it.
Nice.
But I sat there and I said, that would be something really funny to do. The radioactive horror stories. You know, them with
the Beast of Yucca Flats or something.
You know,
tarantula.
You know, the tarantula, or the Colossus Man, or something like. I mean, technically, you could do Godzilla because.
Right.
The very first
we're going to get to Godzilla. Yeah, that came up, and that's been added.
I sat there and I'm going, wouldn't that be really funny just to do these 50s movies that always had secret, or they kept saying had secret stories.
No, that wouldn't be funny at all.
I think MST3K has those well handled.
Yeah. Well, no,
that's true.
That was
these are funny.
Yeah.
That was one of the ideas. This happened by accident. I was looking to learn audio software. That's all this started out as. And I said, I'm not going to be another asshole at the podcast. And so a month later, I had a podcast. But what ended up happening?
But you're not an asshole.
Yeah, well, it's subjective. But what ended up happening was Oh God, I completely lost my train of thought. I was looking for topics to have a podcast about. I'm like, well, what do I? Because somebody said politics, and I'm like, no, I'm going to get stomach cancer if I do that. I'm not going there. But I had another friend, Todd, who John and Ryan know, and he had an idea that I could do like a Mystery Science Theater 3000, but for Hallmark movies. And I could just sit there and just bag fucking Hallmark movies I would, like make a movie length reaction videos to like Hallmark movies. And I'm like, one, I don't want to get sued back into the Stone Age because I'm sure I'm not allowed to, broadcast Hallmark, Hallmark versus Mike Lipford, that's okay. That's gonna work
That's
well.
like Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah, the second one is like, I don't want to watch any fucking Hallmark movies, man. I'm like, I'm not doing that either. I'm like, I'd rather do politics again. So I mean, it just ended up being horror movies, which turned out well. But one of the we've been picky, I guess. About the flicks we've selected, and there have been some suggestions, or and I'm like, I don't know about that, this, that, and the other. But I think we've been on the. I think we've been on the right course. I mean, by and large, the regulars that are on here, we're largely in agreement about the movies that we talk about. But to even introduce people to, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, to your credit, you haven't done Freddy or Jason, so It's,
there are lots of channels that cover that kind of stuff. It's just not me. Like, if I were to sit there and talk about it, it would be
white
dishonest.
noise.
No, it would be white noise. It would be dishonest. Like, I'd be talking about a movie that I'm not a particular fan of.
Yeah, that's
right. You want to have a connection to what you talk about, because obviously it'll show in the conversation. If you have a passion or a connection to it, then obviously what you discuss is going to hit.
That translates instantly.
But and you don't follow the popular trend.
Exactly.
Which you did Jason or Freddy. I don't want to say you're an artsy podcast, because that's not it at all. But you're more of like an independent one.
Yeah.
Everybody else does the things that are very commercial, and you're like, but there's so much more here.
I'm trying to get what and we talked about, you and I, John, talked about this when we talked about Hereditary. There are so many movies that just people aren't talking about. Like at night when you and I did The Ritual. Nobody talks about The Ritual.
I haven't seen anyone else.
We talked about the Changeling.
Yeah, we talked about the change. Like, nobody talks about the Changeling.
And I've had people who actually saw the podcast, or when I told them what we were doing. Oh my God, I love that movie, and they've forgotten about it.
But like nobody's talking about Ravenous. Nobody's talking about A Dark Song. Now I don't know. Maybe you do reach one or two people out there. Because we're hardly breaking the top 1% or anything like that. But I'm trying to get to the movies that people aren't getting to. Like when we talked about Herzog's Nosferatu. Or we talked about Browning's Dracula. Or we talked about The Witch. We talked about Book of Eli. Blade. So I mean, we can keep doing that, and why wouldn't we? So
right.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't we? And that's exactly it.
Oh wait, Dan's hold on. Stakeland. Yeah, Stakeland was a good one too. Yeah. Stakeland's a fantastic movie, and it was one of those movies like 30 Days of Night. In the first 5 minutes, I was sold. Have you seen that Night?
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, with that barn scene in the first couple of minutes, that's it.
Michael, what was I can't remember the title, the zombie movie, Last Train or Train to
Busan.
Train to Busan. Yeah, Rod and I did that.
But you actually talked me into seeing that. By the way, you were discussing it and your enthusiasm.
Oh, we did.
All right, let's go and see it. And
we did. Ryan and I did Wreck.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think Ryan's still scared of that final scene. That was no penthouse, man. I'd be up here like, what the fuck kind of penthouse?
Yeah, really.
What kind of fucked up penthouse is this? I'm not going. Yeah, exactly.
With all the infected people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while we get to one. I think Bill he talked me and he kind of tricked me into it. We did Horror Express.
Oh God.
Oh,
there you
Jesus.
go. Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing.
I
Yeah,
remember
man.
about an hour into this movie, and I texted him, I'm like, bro, this movie. That's all I said. I'm like, bro, this movie. Like, he gets right back to me. He's like, I know, right? I'm like, what the fuck have you got me watching here, man?
That's
Oh,
awesome.
Telly Savalas is in that too.
Yeah, Telly Savalas.
Yes,
I'm like,
I love
is Telly
Telly
Savalas.
Savalas.
A brilliant horror performance since the doll in the Twilight Zone. Telly Savalas.
Mm.
And he's like in a red bathrobe. It looks like he just like rolled out of bed or something, and he's got this Magnum or something. I'm like, what the hell is going on in this movie?
That's awesome.
Man.
Oh, Jesus.
There's a good chance he probably did just roll out of bed.
Yeah,
Right?
this is Telly Savalas we're talking about.
Yes,
He's got a
that's
cigarette in one
though-
hand and an automatic in the other, and you're like, okay, that's like
You know,
Telly
but
Savalas to me.
I think it's just a treat just seeing Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing on screen together.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
main thing. Is just
Mhm.
to
Oh,
see
yeah.
those two. I mean,
Yeah.
I love the story where they once got kicked out of a movie theater for laughing too hard at the Looney Tunes cartoons that were showing before the movie.
Oh, wow.
Then they would call each other on the phone and do Looney Tunes impressions and just have each other just laughing.
See, I would
hysterically.
pay money to hear that.
Right?
Yeah,
To be
I know.
honest, to hear
Yes.
those two
Yeah.
go. There's a video, if you look it up on YouTube, it's Alan Rickman throwing a glass of water.
Mhm.
He has it on a table. And this was like out maybe 8 years ago. And he smashes it and the water goes flying. And then the person adds music and slows it down.
No,
Oh,
jeez.
And it's the most dramatic. You bust out laughing because you just
Oh,
saw it
wow.
at normal speed. But all of a sudden, it's like the most. His eyebrow goes up. He's like, "Ah," and it's goddamn thing.
he
the
was
world-
so talented.
And Alan
man.
Rickman, they asked him why he did it, and he said the kid needed it for his class. He did it for Italian film school. Did it for
Wow.
I love that. But Alan Rickman knocking over water. If you look it up, it's one of the
I will
funniest
look that
goddamn
up.
things in the world.
Yeah.
He
But
was
I love
amazing.
that when you see somebody out of their norm.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
look up
Yeah.
Christopher Lee. Look up Christopher Lee on Saturday Night Live. He was on the first year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He plays death to Lorraine Newman, and he has to bring her in as a child because she dies in her sleep, and she talks him out of it. And he goes, why did you take Billy Johnson? He always picks on me. Wait, Billy Johnson. Billy takes out the. Oh no, he's next month.
Yeah.
But it was just. I mean, he's spoofing himself in the movie
Yeah.
or in the show,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
fantastic.
That's
He
cool.
has,
Yeah.
that was one of the good things about Horror Express is that it was like watching Peter Cushing tell jokes.
Yeah.
He actually, I'm like, did he just tell a joke? I'm like, because he's always that super serious. Whether he's Frankenstein,
Yes.
Dr. Frankenstein, or he's Van Helsing. He's always super stoic and serious, and
Yes.
and you're just like, did he just tell a fucking joke? I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. All right. Oh, maybe this is sort of worth it. All right, 88 minutes. All right. Yeah. All right.
Well, it was like Boris
Oh,
Karloff
man.
when he did How the Grinch Stole Christmas. He was on a TV show where he was reading books.
Oh, wow.
And his granddaughter asked him to read it. And he said, sure. And then Rankin Bass did the animation. And there's people who will know Boris Karloff just for that.
Mhm.
Because of that.
Yeah.
But he did it because my granddaughter, and he had her sit in front of him and he just read it to her.
Huh.
It was like I love it when you see somebody and they just take them out of their
Their comfort zone.
The comfort zone.
Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China,
That's my movie.
where he was spoofing himself
Yes.
throughout that
Yeah.
whole movie, and I think it was Ebert, no, not Gene, Roger Ebert.
Roger Ebert.
Turned around and called him. Imagine if John Wayne wore a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
But that's what I love when you take somebody and they can do that and still
Mhm.
make it a hell of a movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That movie was so much fun to watch.
Well, that's
I love
Yeah.
that movie.
yeah.
Well, that's like when a comedian shows up in like a horror movie and you're
Mhm.
not expecting it, and they're actually really good. I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
I'll use this as an example. The whole movie itself was meh, but that it was called like Tales from the Hood. David
Mhm.
Allen
Yes.
Greer. David
Mhm.
Allen Greer's
Mhm.
segment in that movie was
Yeah.
the best. He played an absolute monster. And I
Mhm.
love David Allen Greer. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
But
He
he
is.
played an absolute monster in that. And I was
Right.
just like, wow. I mean, he
Yeah.
was really like, it's cool when you see these comedians really show this dramatic
Mhm.
side, in these horror
Yeah,
movies.
it's a lot of
Yeah.
comedians that have really great range, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
and you've seen
Well,
that so many times. I mean, look
well,
at
look at
Robin Williams. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
good
yeah.
Lord, man, he was terrifying in
1 Hour
Insomnia.
Photo.
Yeah.
And
I
1 Hour
mean,
Photo, yeah.
yeah,
we all
it's
And
know
like
that.
wow,
Insomnia.
Yeah,
Insomnia.
Insomnia, yeah.
Yes, yes.
The the,
I
the
remember
catch
Jim-
is go ahead,
Go ahead.
John.
No, go ahead, dude. No, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say that it's the issue of timing.
Yeah.
You know, there's a connection in comedy and horror with timing.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
so I think one translates well enough
Mhm.
Yeah.
to the other that
Yeah.
it's a shame more people don't get the opportunity to sort of go back
Mhm.
and forth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They get pigeonholed.
It's
yeah,
weird.
yeah,
too.
kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's weird too because like Kenneth Branagh, when he does Shakespeare shows, he
Yeah.
hires comedians because they
Yeah.
understand the rhythm that Shakespeare wrote.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's like a rhythm
Yep.
of a joke.
Good point.
Mhm.
He took like that's how Emma Thompson. I remember seeing Emma Thompson on British comedy shows like The Young Ones and
Yeah.
things like that. And Kenneth Branagh walked up to her and said, "You should be doing Shakespeare," and completely changed her career
Mm.
Wow.
because he put her in that. But it's comedians know the rhythm.
Yeah.
I knew two friends of mine that got to work as extras on Dead Poets Society.
Mm.
And they were in the scenes. One of them you can see clearly. He's sitting behind Robin Williams when they're doing shots of the theater, when they're doing Midsummer Night's Dream.
Mm.
Mhm.
And Peter Weir, when he was there, Peter Weir asked Robin Williams to entertain the crowd as they were setting up a shot because it was taking a little longer than they expected.
Mhm.
And this guy was an older actor at the time when I was in my 20s. And he said, I wasn't a big fan of Robin Williams. I really, I kind of thought he was, I just didn't get his humor.
Mhm.
He put 5 chairs and did the Act 1 second scene thing where they were giving out the parts for the actors, and he did
Yeah.
all the characters. He
Yeah.
jumped from one to the next chair to the next chair.
That's
and
cool.
He did all the lines.
Mhm.
And this
That's
guy was
cool.
one of those very serious Shakespearean actors. And he goes, after that, I fell in love with him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that's
he was
cool.
right on
That's
the
cool.
money.
He was very talented. I
But
mean,
that's
yeah,
comedians have a rhythm. They're like
they do.
Robin
Yeah.
Williams. George Carlin used to say they're like jazz musicians. They have to
Mhm.
find the rhythm of the group and everything else. That really goes with selling, especially when it comes with horror.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's like spoofing the comedy for the 50s. They're like, there's a monster in there. Don't go in, But then when you get somebody else doing it, and they got the comedian all of a sudden who's the scary guy in the corner. You don't want to go in there.
Yeah.
Nobody comes back from up there.
Mhm.
But they know what to do because it's like telling a joke.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. It's true.
I think this is as good a place as any to kind of close it out, just to keep it
Mhm.
simple for this evening. Because I didn't know who was going to show up. I planned to keep this going for about 30 or 45 minutes.
And
But
time
I
flies.
We went a little
appreciate-
over that, but
Yeah,
Just a
that's all right.
little.
But see,
dollar.
but that's the catch.
Mhm.
And this is kind of what we do. I mean, now,
Mhm.
it's structured. It's usually a little more structured, because we're talking about a movie. But yeah, I mean, and so it's easy enough to come back to this. It's easy, it's easy enough to come back twice a week.
Mhm.
And then hey, we'll see it next week. And then some people rotate in and some people rotate out, and I guess before we knew it, freaking years passed by.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, how about that?
Same
Well, hold on a
werewolf
second.
time, same werewolf channel.
Yeah.
All
All right. Patrick, thanks for stopping by. Thanks to
Thanks, my
Dan.
friend.
Thanks to Eric. Thanks to Walk the Cinema podcast. Did I miss anybody who is here? I don't think so. Yeah. Thanks to everybody. What's up?
I heard this 2 nights ago, real quick. You know the movie Soylent Green?
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
There was a,
Yeah.
Charlton Heston.
that year that it happened.
That was 2022.
2022.
And on that note,
Yeah.
Watch what you're eating, guys. Time to go on a
yeah.
diet.
Yeah.
All right. My thanks to Ryan, Brom Bones, Zaravala K. Naj, depending on which day you catch him. And or Chris Kringle, ready to mingle, whatever. My thanks to
But you can call me
tonight's,
Tony.
yeah, Joey Kives, from the neighborhood.
Joey Kives, baby.
Then there was the one time we had like everybody on and everybody had a different name, but then we had Rod on, and it was just Rod. It was like American Werewolf, and Bill was like some long drawn out name, and then Eric, hey, Internet Eric here, and I think John was here that day, so he had a long name, and then there was
And
Rod.
Johnny Wawa.
Yeah, it was like three letters, Rod. It's just like, okay, Rod doesn't come on very often. All right, no problem. All right,
give me roar.
let's I guess we'll be back. We'll be back on Wednesday. We'll be back on Wednesday. We're going to touch on some Guillermo del Toro. This might be our first excursion into del Toro. When we get into one of his lesser-known movies, a favorite of mine, and I might watch it now that after we get out of this stream, Mimic. We're getting into Mimic.
It's a good one.
With
Underrated.
the much missed Mira Sorvino.
Yes.
Not to mention Charles S. Dutton. Who, you can never get. If I'm not mistaken, she was a victim of Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I think it actually drove her out of acting.
Oh, okay.
Because there was no one to petition your case to back then, I guess, and she didn't want to go to.
Harvey Weinstein's gonna mess with Paul Sorvino's daughter. That's Paulie Cicero from the Goodfellas. You can't mess with him.
That's right.
It's a movie. It's a movie.
I
Right?
know.
No, it's not.
You think Paul Sorvino's?
Well, apparently it is because he did it. I mean, So
I know.
But I look forward to that movie. That's a really good cast. Giancarlo Giannini is in that. Just another. No, huh?
I forgot she was in that.
No, it's a guy. Giancarlo Giannini.
Well, then it's somebody else I'm thinking of.
Yeah. He's the guy who he was Rene Mathis in Casino Royale.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, the Italian actor, just a really fantastic actor. And then we're back on Thursday. We're going to do a little Gregory Wyden. We're looking at The Prophecy. So that's going to be fun and as good as it gets with Christopher Walken and even Viggo Mortensen. We're going to be going at it this week. Yeah, looking forward to it. Night, in case somebody's here who may not know your channel, do you want to tell them where they can find you?
Yep, you can catch me on the Night Watch Zone. Right now we're just doing lives on Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, and Sundays around 6 p.m., but also Fridays sometimes at 9:30 p.m. It kind of varies a little bit because my brother's schedule has gotten a little wacky lately, but we're around and just trying to have fun, just like you guys, man. Just having conversations.
I don't think I've said this, but congratulations. For people who don't know, about 6 months ago, you lost your channel. You had there was if anybody remembers in YouTube, they were going through quite a purging stage of things, and I think one day I'm not here to ask you to rehash it, but I think one day you woke up and your channel was gone.
Yeah, man.
Down to zero. Yeah, and he's actually built the channel back up again, and
nice.
Gotten your episodes back up again, and congratulations. That's no small thing, man. Yeah, anybody who does any sort of content creation knows what a shot that that's kind of a liver shot, and that's not a small thing. So congratulations on getting yourself back on and up and rolling again. Good
Thanks,
for you,
man. I appreciate it, and actually, the community was great, man. And you were actually one of the first people I think we had talked on Twitter, because you had said, "Hey, what happened to the channel and this and that?" And I just found out, and so forth and so forth. But yeah, man. I mean, it's just been great to meet people, connect with folks, stuff that I've done with you on here and other people in the community, and that was really the only thing that helped to make me be able to deal with it. Because without that, I just would have been like, screw it, I'm done. You know.
This
Yeah.
this isn't happening in a vacuum.
Right.
You know, it's not happening in a vacuum, and so that's a everlasting positive. That's a good thing. Hold on, real quick. Last couple of comments. Dan says, "Great job, love the whole community. Thanks for stopping by again, Dan." Patrick says, "SMC tomorrow night on the Night Watch Zone."
Oh, Slasher Movie Club.
Oh, Slasher Movie Club. Okay.
Patrick, you're too funny, man.
All right.
There you go. And Slasher Movie Club rocks. Okay, so he's not just the president; he's a member too of the Slasher Movie Club.
He's also a client.
He is.
Okay, yeah, he's also a client. All right, we're gonna bring it to a close. Thank you, everyone, for this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
For being
absolutely.
here and for helping me to play a part and for playing parts yourselves and
Congratulations, man. Well deserved.
Well
And
deserved.
yeah, like I said, this is fun stuff. I'm so glad I could jump in with you guys again. And it's great stuff, man. You're doing great stuff. You really are.
This is how fast an hour 20 goes. So we're good. All right, everybody. Good night, and we'll see you on Wednesday. All the best, everybody.
All right,
Be well.
Adios.